The first thing I felt was her heartbeat. It was faint, and it fluttered under my fingertips, still trembling and clammy from labor. The harsh white of the hospital room fluorescent lights blended and blurred into a toasted marshmallow white. Because when I look at her, my baby girl, the whole world seemed to soften at the edges. The second thing I felt was sleep stinging my eyes after being woken up by her crying for the 5th time in 2 nights. And I haven't gotten used to the feeling of my hip bones being so wide. My toilet water is red. My head won't stop hurting. I break out in sweats for no reason, and I don't know why. But I cried into my cup of coffee yesterday morning. So my legs spooled like dropped rope out of the bed. And I dragged myself to her crib. But no matter how much I felt half dead when I got there, and I looked down at my reason for living, I found the strength to hold her in my arms. The third thing I felt was her fingers on the round of my calf, a perch too high for her budgie-like digits to rest until I turned around and saw her standing on her feet for the first time. And I found out what it looked like when the bones forged from my marrow and the muscles strung from my flesh somehow grew strong enough to hold themselves. My own legs gave out under me, collapsing to the ground of my living room, and we were like 2 children on a play date face to face, 2 halves of one whole meeting in the middle again, and laughter and love peeled silvery on a spring morning. The fourth thing I felt with my eardrums aching in time to each stomp of 2 small sketchers on pavement until she disappeared into the schoolhouse. And I knew what the first engravings that rainfall makes in a hillside felt like. The first step in a forming of a river that will soon be too far for me to cross to get to her. And I thought I had more days of blue skies before the thunder clouds clapped. I went home to our 2-bedroom apartment. And a vacuum opened up between its walls, because even though her body was so small, her soul took up so much room. It pushed against the bookshelf, it hugged the sofa, it lit the fire under the stove. But now the September air was cold for the first time since I brought her home, and I cried in the emptiness. The fifth thing I felt was the weight of a camcorder in my palm, the aperture lit by the shine of the stage lights at our winter recital. Her hair was stuffed beneath a felt elf hat. As the music class sang White Christmas on 3 different keys, it was terrible. But I hardly heard it over the sound of her smile that rang like angels' harps through the gymnasium. And looking at her small frame squeezed smaller still on the screen, I thanked Christ that the world still treated her like a child and not like a girl, because no woman I know can glow like that anymore. The sixth thing I felt was a teardrop wetting the fibers of my sleeve when she asked me if I thought she was ugly. For her tooth gap I couldn't afford to shrink, or her eyes downturned, heavy-lidded, or her hair too short or too long or not the right color, and suddenly I wanted to burn the CoverGirl headquarters to the ground, but instead I lit a candle and ordered a pizza and watched her favorite movie, because her beauty was really found in the gasps for breath she took between bouts of laughter. She was fresh-faced in 7th grade, only 11 by then. She was a rabbit quickly bounding into the mouth of a 7-year-long bear trap, which would then be followed by 4 years in a wood chipper and another 8 limping towards the tree line. She was so lucky to find it that fast. I knew this was the first conversation of many, whether she's too skinny, too fat, or I have to explain what gaslighting is, learns the boys are cruel, and girls are crueler, and men are cruelest, and no one likes someone too happy, too clumsy, too ugly, too pretty, someone who knows what they deserve, someone who's too honest, too big of a dreamer, not enough of a realist, and God forbid she grows up to be an artist. No one likes someone too childish. And my heart drops at the thought that somewhere down the line, she'll clip her wings and I'll be too busy paying the bills to notice. But the seventh thing I feel is her hair on my shoulder as we watch this movie. There's tomato sauce on the corner of her mouth, and she squirms playfully as I wipe it away with a saliva-coated thumb. And when she hugs me, I can feel her heartbeat. The harsh light of the TV screen blends and blurs into distant rolling thunderclouds of color. Because when I look at her, my baby girl, the whole world seems to soften at the edges.